everybody. Welcome back to Growing Up Grieving Podcast. I am your host, Kate Meduno, and I really wanted to ride the wave of last episode and dig a little deeper into my paranormal experiences today. I told you guys from the beginning that this is me, right? I like spiritual stuff. I wanted to explore it, especially in the first season. So I thought I'd kind of piggyback on my last episode that I just posted with Tiffany Rice, who is a medium. I wanted to share more about my experiences that I had, in general, and even give you an insider view into what Tiffany said to me about everything. Because I told you guys that she was able to give me a personal reading, and she was. So let me just open up my phone here because I wrote it all down because she was able to, give me a reading, after we recorded. Like, I didn't record it, right? So I had to write it down of everything that I remembered. So, all right. So this is everything that kind of Tiffany went over. And then I'm going to kind of go into just different things that I've experienced over my lifetime. The reason that I really bridge this into grief is because this is helping me. This is helping me having a belief like this. And so if you can believe in something, or maybe you can find some signs and you're able to connect in something. Like, is it honestly that far-fetched that these things could seriously happen? I really don't think it is. I mean, think of where we are. Think of life and existence. How the heck did we even start? There's so many questions. And I know the biggest one of all that I always deal with is like, are they really gone? Are they? I think that they're not. I think they're here. I really, really believe it. Okay? So I want to dive into what Tiffany told me because she's just amazing. And seriously, guys, you guys know how much I seriously post online. I share a lot about my life. I share a lot about my experiences, about my family on social media and on my pages, and obviously in my podcast. I've been very, very open about who I am and what I have experienced. So I thought it was really interesting that a lot of the things that she said, actually, I think almost everything. I'm looking at the list right now. I think everything she said has not been talked about online, honestly, okay? And they all resonated. It's not like she was like, oh, I see like a purple giraffe. And I'm like, what the f- does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, everything honestly made sense. So, all right, one of the things, and I'm going to start off with this one. She said, both my parents are with me at all times. And there they are. If you're watching this, you can watch this on YouTube, guys. And if you do watch it on YouTube and if you see my videos, then like my entire family is in my background. Like, let me just show you guys real quick. And if you hear crunching in the background, again, that's my chinchilla. He's so funny. His name is Fred. And he's so silly. Okay, so into what Tiffany told me. So one of the things she said is my mom said to me, why did you take your necklace off? And if you watch the last recording, I actually was wearing a necklace that my husband gave me. And like when her and I were actually talking in that moment, in the shot, like you couldn't see my necklace. So I thought she was talking about the necklace that I was wearing. And I'm like, I'm still wearing the necklace. Like, it's on, But then it just clicked in my head. And I was like, oh, so my mom used to give us charms all the time. Like in high school, I had like a C on my necklace. And she would give me starfish and different things like that. She loved jewelry. And so for the longest time, I've been wearing a necklace that has the C on it from high school. And also she got me this charm when I had my oldest, Hope. And it was like this little figure of like a mom and a baby. And I loved it because it kind of like symbolized me and my mom, but also, me and like I became a mother myself, And so recently it broke and I had to take it off. So that seriously happened. And if you don't believe me and you're watching the video, hold on 2 seconds, because this is the chain. This is the broken chain. It is broken. You can see it. Broken. And here's the one I was talking about, the little one with like, it's like a little mom and a baby. And the C, just trying to show you guys. And then my husband, after my mom died, got me this beautiful one. And it's of a open heart. I don't even know if you guys can see it. There you go. It's of like hearts and like angel wings and everything. And another one he got me too. But that broke. So she was right. It absolutely happened. Okay. Another thing she said, and this is definitely called out this was actually recorded in the last episode. She said to me that my parents are in spirit with a baby girl. Now, at first I was like, what? What does that even mean? Like, that did not make sense to me. Okay. But once we got talking, it did make sense. Now, I really can't reveal why that makes sense because it's not my story to tell. But yes, absolutely accurate. Okay. Nobody would have known that. She's right. Okay. Second thing, she told me that my dad was apologizing for being confused the last week that he died. That is so, so true. And I was telling my sister Meg about this, and she was like, oh my God, that just broke me. And it did. It broke me too, because the last week that my dad was alive, he was in the hospital just for like 1 week. It was probably like 1 week way too many. He did not like hospitals and stuff like that. But he was so, so confused. I mean, he honestly, and looking back, I mean, if you've ever seen anybody die or if you've ever experienced that, you know that when they're closer to death, they are very, very confused. This is just something that happens. It makes complete sense. He honestly would be dead asleep. We would, my sisters and I were there like all the time, and he would wake himself up from sleeping and be like, I just want to sleep. I just want to go to sleep. And we'd be like, Dad, you were just sleeping. Like, hello. So he was very confused, and it made me so sad. I'm like, oh, he feels so bad about that. So, Dad, if you're here, and she said he's like right next to me. So, hey, if you're like here, Dad, it's okay. All right, we forgive you. She asked about the month of September and if it was significant. That's my daughter's birthday. She mentioned, and she's like, who's Bella? And my daughter, her name's Hope Isabella. She's like, I see your dad just like hanging out on the couch with you guys, like the white Hanes t-shirt. And I was like, yep, that would be something he would absolutely do. What else? I'm looking here. She talked about getting a tattoo for my mom. I do not have a tattoo for my mom, but I've been talking about it. I want to get my leg done. I have I have like a kind of like a quarter sleeve on my, or I don't know what you want to call it. I haven't been tattooed in probably 20 years, I want to say. I have a butterfly on my back. I have a hibiscus on my foot, and I have some cherry blossoms with like some kind of like cloudy swirls, like black swirls on my calf. And so I keep saying that I want to get a tattoo for my mom, and I've been saying it for years, but I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? Tattoos are so final, and I know this, but I was like, if I'm gonna get something from my mom, like, wow, it needs to be significant. It has to be as important as she is to me, So I definitely have some ideas of what I want to do, and I want to get like a whole leg tattoo for her, and I think it's so fucking sick, and I can't wait to do it. But anyways, she was like, okay, well, you know what? She's recognizing that you're going to be getting that, and so that is true. She said, what about the 2 ornaments for your parents? Now on this one, I was like, I don't have ornaments for my parents, like both of them, that I can remember. No, like even now, I'm just like questioning it. No, I don't have one. But she said like, okay, well, I mean, this is the first Christmas without my dad, so without both of my parents. So she was saying that it could just happen. Like I could just be gifted 2 ornaments with my parents on it. And that is not a far-fetched thing. So has it happened? No. But could it very well happen? Yeah, absolutely it could happen. She was asking me who plays soccer, and nobody plays soccer, but everybody's been calling me a soccer mom because I just got a new car. I got a Volvo, guys. And if you know, you know. It's an amazing car. It's beautiful. I'm obsessed with it. It's like the nicest thing I've ever owned in my life. Honestly, it's amazing. But I kind of, she's like, okay, well, like that could be the connection, and I kind of think of it as it is. And she just told me that butterflies are significant. And she also mentioned that right after we were talking about the tattoos. And again, I have a tattoo of a butterfly on my back. So I think that's everything she kind of said. Yeah, that's everything she called out. And so to me, I haven't talked about any of that stuff online. You know, I know that there's a lot of people who are like skeptics, right? And it's only natural. It makes perfect sense to question your reality and to question things, and especially if somebody's going to come and tell you that they're talking to like your dead ancestors. I'm sure you're going to want to be like, all right, are you really? Like, is this really happening? But everything she said made sense to me. And maybe it's because I'm so open. You can interpret it however you'd like. But to me, that just made perfect sense. So I want to get back into different experiences. So that was my thing about Tiffany. Tiffany, again, you're amazing. I love you. I'm so happy that we got to connect. So grateful. And if you guys can reach her, I just have to plug her again. Just please go to her website, tiffanyrice.com. She's amazing. Okay, so when I was little, I was really, really impacted, and I believe it was because of my mother's grief. When my grandparents died, again, they were my mother's parents. They died a month apart, and that is like a huge, huge loss. My mother loved her parents so much. Very, very loving family. And I remember trying ways to try and connect with my Nana because I was so sad that she was gone. And I believe that like I was like absorbing some of my mother's grief. I've talked about this before. And I think that I'm an empath truly, and like I just felt her pain, right? But I remember one day I was looking out. We had in the room I had in the house I grew up in, which I'm obsessed with. Whenever I dream, I am in that house, and I feel like it's super significant. Like I feel it was a generational house, you know, like it was my mother's grandparents' house or my mother's father's house. It was in the family, put it that way. So I feel like there's some like good juju, some significance there with that. But anyway, so there was two windows in the front of the house, and that's where my bedroom was at the time. And I remember I was trying to play this game, trying to connect with my Nana. And I would say things like, okay, I'm looking out the window. And I was a kid, honestly, guys, like less than 10. I remember looking out the window and being like, okay, like I need a red car to come by. I want you to send me a red car. And a red car came by, and I was like, okay, that could be like a coincidence. Because it could be, right? I could say that now and be like, all right, there's a red car and there is one. But they kept coming. And I remembered I kept going back and being like, all right, send a blue car, do this or whatever. And they would come. And to me, that was a connection. And that's kind of when I feel like everything kind of started, you know? When I was a kid, my friends and we used to hang out in cemeteries. We used to hang out in parking lots like friggin' weirdos, but we did. We used to go into cemeteries, and one of the cemeteries that we used to go to, it's over, I think it's called Hilldale Cemetery. And there's a lot of old graves there, but we used to go there. We would like picnic, like who goes and hangs out in cemeteries? Like we did. I remember we would try to like talk to ghosts and try to connect and everything. We would do the Ouija board. We would try to have seances. We did so many things. Another moment that the first time that I ever saw a ghost in my life, I was living in the house I grew up in again, and I want to say I was young again, probably younger than 10. I really think I was. I don't remember like the actual age, but I was. And I just remember waking up in the middle of the night and looking at the end of my bed, and there was a little boy, like his entire body was there. He was standing next to my bed, and he had this blue kind of like haze and like this blue light all around him. And he was like wearing this little like he was wearing like a suit. Like a little, like he was like this little kid in a suit, and he had like his hair was kind of like longer, and he looked like a little blondie to me. And it was so weird. And I was like looking at him, and I was like, do I see this? Like, what the heck is this? And I'm pretty sure I like put the covers over my head, like, okay, like I'm good with this. And I pulled it down and I looked and he was gone. Now, what makes this interesting is that the next day, it was either the next, I think it was the next day, but it was very, very shortly after this. I was telling my mom, I was like, oh my God, like I had this, like, I swear I saw something. And my mother always really believed in this stuff too. So I think she was like, ooh, like, tell me about it, you know? And I was describing this boy, and then she pulled out a picture. I don't know if she was going through things or whatever, but she found this picture, and it was of my cousin, Joshua, who passed away, and I never got to meet him. Okay? I've never met him, and I didn't even know who he was, you know, because, like, again, I never met him. But it was him. It was him. I saw the picture, and I was like, that's him. It just gave me the chills right now. It was the coolest thing. But yeah, that was my first experience ever seeing a ghost. Now, growing up still, wanting to play with this stuff, but also being afraid of it, I know that I would always just talk about it. I would talk to like a ghost. If you ever enter a room and you just feel friggin' weird, like, oh, I don't think I'm alone, and you're feeling that, like, I believe that. And if it's making you uncomfortable, talk to it. Be like, hey, I don't want you here right now. Even if you're good, can you please just give me some space? I've said stuff like that, and you'll realize that it'll go away. Like, it actually works, or it did for me at least. So communicate with it, whatever it is. If it's freaking you out, be like, hey, you're freaking me out. Please go away. And that's what I've done in a lot of situations. And then I just kind of feel better. Another weird thing, I haven't thought of this in years, but I was trying to think of like everything to share in this episode. So one night, my two best friends and I were walking home from Bradford, and it's a part of the town that I grew up in, but it's like separated. The town is separated by the river, so we would walk over, and like I think we were in high school. We would walk from our house like all the way down. We'd walk over to Bradford and hang out with our friends, blah blah blah, and we'd walk all the way back. By God, did we have the best legs then, huh? Right? I mean, all that walking. But I'll never forget. We were walking on the bridge, and all of a sudden, I was like overcome with this stupid song in my head, and I still remember it to this day. And I feel like I'm gonna lose followers. You guys are gonna be like, she's a Looney Tune. Well, you know what? Fine. This is my genuine self, guys. I can't make this up. The song was like a humming, and it was like dun, 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 dun. And then I heard no one cares. Dun, 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 dun. And I kept singing it and humming it. And I remember my friend, she was like, can you stop saying that? Like, you're freaking me out. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I associate that though to, honest to God, something happening to me. I don't know if somebody was like, there was a lonely ghost on the bridge or whatever the hell, but it still sticks with me today. And why would it stick with me if it wasn't something real? You know, I don't know what it was, but it was weird and it happened. Again, I feel like if there is a ghost around or something that's freaking you out and that they're watching you, you can just talk to it and tell it to leave. Another thing that I used to always do just when I was a kid, and I would be really, really scared in a moment or thinking that something was in my room, I would put the covers over my head and I would say to myself, like, nonstop, Jesus conquers evil. Jesus conquers evil. Jesus conquers evil. And for some reason, saying that over and over and over and over and over again, like, I felt calm and I felt like I was protected and that whatever it was, it would pass and that I was okay. Sometimes if I'm really freaked out now, I'll say that. And it's funny because I'm not religious. I grew up Catholic. I've told you guys this before, but I don't practice. My kids are not baptized. And the reason being is because I do believe in a higher source, 1,000,000%. And I believe in energy and spirits. I just don't know if everything in the Bible, like, is actually true. Do I think that spiritual or crazy phenomenon things can happen? Of course I do. Like, I really, really believe that. But I kind of look at the Bible as like stories to help you become a better person. Stories that are stories. and they use examples of things of like how to be a good person. It's kind of like a way of life. So I've kind of just, steered away from that a little bit. Well, not a little bit, it's a lot of it. But yeah, so food for thought on that, okay? Now, after my mom died, we really adopted this "Don't Stop Believing" mantra, which of course is the Journey song, which is amazing. And again, if you follow me, then you know I've shared videos, I've showed her headstone. We have "Don't Stop Believing" on the top of her headstone. Journey, hello, shout out to me, come on. We love you, just saying. And so whenever I hear that song, and it has come on in random times at random places, hell, I've walked out like into the back of my yard, just like having a moment, and then all of a sudden I just hear it, like somebody is playing it nearby. Now, you could be less skeptic and be like, well, someone's playing it nearby, it's not your mom sending it to you. And okay, fine, like you can believe that, that's fine. But the way that I kind of associate that is, why would I hear it if it wasn't somehow connected? And if ghosts don't actually, or spirits don't actually like make things transpire, then I think that they influence people to help carry out some messages on their behalf. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So sure, it's not like my mom was there with a friggin' radio and be like blasting friggin' Journey for me, right? But perhaps she was influencing somebody to play the song for me because she knew I needed to hear it. I remember a couple of years ago, I got really, really big into kickboxing, and I did it alone, and it was so new to me. I had not done anything by myself. Like go to the gym by yourself was like, what? Like, I can't do that. That's like terrifying to do something with like out a friend. But I really didn't have any friends. So I was like, okay, I want to do this, and I'm just going to be brave. And I like talk myself up. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to friggin' go. Okay. I'm going to go. I walked in there on the first day that I was like supposed to do it. The freaking song comes on, and it's "Don't Stop Believing." Like, and I was just like there sweating my ass off, punching the bag, and I'm just like trying to hold back tears because it felt so connected. Like it was a sign to me. She was telling me like, yes, Kate, like you can do this alone, and I'm proud of you for trying something new. And that's the way that I interpreted it, And other messages that she sends me that I believe are from her are cardinals. I see cardinals all the time. And even this very morning, I was in the cemetery because that's where I hang out still because I'm weird. I would love to meet other people who hang out in cemeteries. So if somebody could like validate me somehow and be like, you're not that crazy, I would love to hear it. But anyways, I was just sitting there today. I dropped my kids off at school. I'm like, I'm going to go see mom and dad. I sit down and I'm sitting at this huge, huge, huge beech tree. It is like massive. And I'm just thinking to myself, my God, this tree is so old. And could you imagine the things that it has seen? And I was closing my eyes and the sun is like shining right on my face. And I was just like, all right, I'm just going to sit here and be still for a minute. And I was sitting there for a little bit. And then I started to hear some chirping. And I was like, oh, that's a cardinal. And it was. And I looked over and I saw it. And I was like, okay, thank you, Mom. Like she sent me a sign. And so these are things that I recognize. And I want to call out to you guys. If you do receive a sign or something that you believe is a sign, thank them for it. So I say, Mom, thank you for sending me the cardinal. Speak it out loud. And I swear to you, if you believe this and if you try this, the act of thanking them is going to make it happen even more. I swear. You try it. You tell me what you think, okay? Because I feel like they're on the other side. I don't think they can necessarily like get into our head and know everything that we're saying, right? But I really think that they can hear us when we talk to them. So if you're talking to them and you're thanking them for something, it also just puts gratitude out into the world, and that's just wonderful for your soul. But anyways, that's something I do. Thank them for it if you see something, okay? I also shared a reel a little bit ago about going into Market Basket with my Harry Potter shirt on. Wicked Harry Potter nerd. I told the story about you know, when the books came out, there was like a midnight opening, and my friend and I went with my mom at midnight to like the book reveal party at Barnes and Noble. they gave out they gave out lightning bolt tattoos for like your head and everything, and we were so nerding, but I freaking loved it. I love the magic of Harry Potter, absolutely do. But anyways, I was saying like the kid at the checkout, like I started to like share about it because he was like, oh, Hufflepuff or whatever, like asking what house I'm in. And I was just laughing about it. And I was walking out of the store, and I was thinking of my mother, obviously, right? Because I did this with my mom. I'm walking out of the store, and I just happened to look over, and I see a license plate. And what did it say? It said Potter, Pottah. And I was laughing so hard. I must have looked like a lunatic in the parking lot, but I don't care. But that's a sign. Hello, that is a sign. She was just there with me and like vibing, you know, and like, yeah, like you can call it a coincidence, call it whatever you want. To me, that was a sign. And I was like, Mom, thank you. Like, you're there, you validated me. And again, like, keep saying thank you. All right, so with my dad, oh, actually, let me tell you this one. Shortly after my mom died, this is a creepy one. Ugh. Okay, shortly after my mom died, we lived in an apartment at the time, and I was coming home. It was just me. I was alone in the hall. Alone in the hall. Alone. I'm telling you, I'm alone. Okay. I was about to open the door, and I heard the most terrifying thing ever. And it sounded like my mother whisper, like yelling at me, being like, Caitlin. Like, just like, oh my God, I can't even do it. It just gave me the chills again. Freaked me out. I was like, I was like, oh my God, like whoever you are, like if you are my mom or whoever you are, please don't ever do that again. I don't want to hear it. I was like, oh my God, it just scared the shit out of me. And looking back, you know, there was some stuff going on in my life at that time, and I wonder if she was just trying to warn me, or maybe she was just trying to say hi. I have no idea. But I haven't heard like a whisper like that since, and thank God, because it was so creepy and scared out of me. But I heard it clear as day. And did I look around in the hall? Yes, I absolutely did. There was no one. There was nobody there. There's no other explanation I have. It was crazy. Other symbolism that I have is I see hawks everywhere for my dad. My dad is a huge bird nerd. We grew up like, okay, do you see a hawk? I'm going to give you 25 cents. Or, ooh, I'll give you 50 cents if you see a bald eagle, and blah, blah, blah. And I remember when I was a kid, like I couldn't see shit. Like I never saw any of the birds. My sister's over there like eagle eyes. They could both find the birds all the time. And I never could. We used to go up to Salisbury Reservation and Plum Island and stuff like that. And just kind of like look and go on like bird watching escapades and everything. But I just never, I didn't grow up seeing these, okay? Ever since my dad died, I see hawks everywhere. I even had one, I've shared again online, that was just sitting on my husband's truck out front. Just sitting there. I've been in the yard, and I've had hawks swoop down like overhead of me and come completely over me. Like, what else could that be? Just yesterday, okay? Just yesterday, I'm driving along with my husband, and I'm like, oh my God, it's a hawk. And he came, and he circled around, and he followed the car. All right? So you believe what you believe. I believe it's my dad. I see the hawks at the cemetery too. I've seen them everywhere. And sometimes I see an eagle, and that is the coolest thing ever too. Because eagles are just like, they're beautiful in general if you see an eagle. To me, but that's always a sign, like a bird of prey. And even when I drop off my girls at their gymnastics and everything, I see a hawk up there. And, you know, again, what do you believe? I don't know. I believe it. All right. Here's another one. We stay at my in-laws over the summer. Sometimes we go up and we stay at their place. And this past trip, this past summer, my husband and I are there, and we're like trying to go to bed or whatever. And the room's dark. Of course it's dark, right? You sleep in the dark. And I was like, oh my God, JR, like something is like standing here. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, I'm just so creeped out. Like there's something that's just like standing by the bed and like staring at us. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but it's staring at me. And he's just like, he doesn't really believe in this stuff. Which is so funny, right? Isn't it funny that like how opposites attract? I'm like a complete Looney Tune and he's just like the grounded one. But yeah, I experienced that and I was just like, okay, like, and again, I said to it, I talked to it. I'm like, you need to please leave because you're freaking me out. But I, just like when I was a kid, I put the covers over my head and I like shrunk down and like scooped up next to him because I'm like, I cannot be here alone. And yeah, that was just another moment that I've had. What else? I'm trying to think of everything else, guys. I know I've been blabbing on. Okay, so that's kind of it. But what I want to tell you is that whatever your heart truly believes is, that's what's going to fuel your life. I believe so strongly that I've done 2 episodes now about the spiritual world. It is so connected to my grief. It just makes absolute sense to me. I cannot think of another way to describe how much it just resonates and just makes sense to me. These 2 worlds are so married together, and it helps my grief immensely to believe that they're still here. I have their photos everywhere in my background on here. I have my photos hang up. I have my a band photo. I'm looking at it. A band photo that was my great grandfather's, Alfred. And apparently there was a marching band that he started in my hometown for a school that I went to like years later, but like we didn't have a marching band there. But he started it, and it was just such a cool black and white photo. And because I grew up and I went to that school, I remember, I think it was at my mom's house. I don't know where I got it. It was obviously somebody in the family's. And I was like, I love this. And I've been hanging it up. And speaking of spirit guides and everything, I really believe that he is one of my spirit guides, and I've never met him. Now, my sister Rachel, she also has had a lot of experiences. Hers are in dreams. She has had such very vivid dreams and messages of things. It'd be fun to have her on an episode to kind of go over some different things that she's experienced, like really freaky things. My auntie in heaven, where is she? She's right here in this photo. If you're watching the video, that's my auntie Linda. She used to always see ghosts. I remember hearing that she'd be like, yeah, they're just like laying in bed with me and just like get the hell out of my bed, like they'd be like that annoying with her. So it's I believe it's kind of like in my family, and I also grew up that way, so it could be environmental. If you've watched the last episode with Tiffany, what she was saying about that. Another thing I just want to talk about, just for like lineage, on the other side of the family, my Graham, who's in this photo right here, if you guys are watching, her mother and father came here from Ireland. Were Irish immigrants. My great grandmother, she came over and she was illiterate. That is also what really drove my Graham to, she became a school teacher and she would teach kids how to read. So it was really kind of cool the way that she used her poverty, the way that she grew up, to make a positive change in her life. But one of the things and I don't really know much about that side of the family, but one thing that I did hear was that her mother, my great grandmother, used to read tea leaves, and one day she read something for somebody, and I think it was something bad. I'm not entirely sure how the story went, but whatever it was, it either came true or it was just something that scared the ever-living shit out of her, and she never read tea leaves again. You could look at this as I have kind of both sides of the family mixed in with all of this supernatural stuff, and I just eat it up. I really, really do. So I make the connections I want. If you want to have connections with the dead, you can do it. You can absolutely do it, and I encourage you to do it. Write stuff down in a journal if something just happens, or just anything in your phone. Like I write like a bajillion notes in my phone. So I encourage you to just believe in something. Believe in something different. Open yourself up to the idea, okay, if this is like totally like Fruit Loop to you, Open yourself up to the idea that this actually could be real. Because, like, think of all the crazy things that have happened in the world. Why couldn't, like, why would this not be something that could actually happen? You know what I mean? I think it's real. All right. So those are all my stories, guys. I just wanted to share again. And I kind of know it's going like boom, 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 boom with this one. But I don't know. I just kind of was reeling off of everything spiritual this week. And even now I'm looking at a candle of my mom on it. I lit it. And I believe she's here. So make an altar too. That's another thing. Photos, offerings. Oh, and pennies too. My mom used to always say, find a penny, pick it up all day long, you have good luck. And I see pennies everywhere, and I pick those up. Those are also a sign from my mom. All right, I love you guys. Thanks for listening to me banter on, and I'll talk to you soon.